You are now listening to Talk Your Jits podcast.
Welcome back to the Talk Your Jits podcast. This podcast is, as the name implies, all about Jiu Jitsu. I'm your host, Lamar Smith. And today's guest is a second-degree black belt who trains at Carlson Gracie Polk County, located in Lakeland, Florida. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Bunting. There we go. How's it going, sir?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
Good. Fantastic. Well, first and foremost, I would like to thank you for being a guest today. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Man, not a problem. Without further ado, if you want to formally introduce yourself, go ahead and let's hear about your jiu-jitsu journey.
All right, man. So, like I said, man, my name's Joe Bunting. Been doing jiu-jitsu right around 24 years now. I'm a second-degree black belt under Hoffa Santos, which is Carlson Gracie Polk County. We're located in Central Florida. Lakeland is where our headquarters is at. Yeah, man, I'm also a military man. I've been in the military now for 18 years, getting ready to retire from that. I'm a father, man. I got 3 kids. My wife trains jiu-jitsu. My kids train jiu-jitsu, man.
Nice.
It's the jiu-jitsu household, dude.
Same here. My wife trains. My oldest daughter trains, and once my youngest gets old enough, she will start training too.
That's awesome, man. It's good. It's cool, man. You know, you let them, you bring them into it. I never really pressured any of my kids, just let them hang out on the mats or take them to the school, and they just naturally started wanting to do it. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, same here. Like, I would go to training and my daughter would get upset that I'm leaving the house. So I started taking her with me. And then after a while, she was asking about training. And I'm like, well, once we get a kids class, it's on. So we got our kids class started earlier this year, and she's been hooked ever since.
Yeah, the kids class thing's pretty cool. Talking a little bit about my journey and stuff like that. I started roughly around 99. I started actually up in Maryland, and I had a kind of crazy story. I guess I have the story of, I like to call it the poster child story of jiu-jitsu. Everybody talks about it now, but I got beat up when I was a kid real bad, right? And I go to my girlfriend's house for dinner after I got some stitches in my eye, and I go over, and her dad's like, you can't be dating my daughter if you get beat up. The typical story.
Right.
And so he goes, hey, man, I want to take you to, learn to fight. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I don't have no idea what I'm getting into. Mind you, I might have dabbled in Taekwondo at this point and some time in my life, or, some other little martial arts. But at this point, I've never been a martial artist in any aspect. And so I end up in this garage, I'm sitting in my garage now. So I end up in a garage. It's kind of funny.
It came full circle.
Yeah, it did. 100% came full circle. So I end up in this garage, and I get beat up by this kid. Literally, this kid. I'm like 16 years old at the time. This kid's probably he's 14, 15 years old, and I mean he's probably 50 pounds less than I am. And I mean he just beats me up, man. Arm bars me. At the time I didn't know what he did, but now I know what he did. He arm barred me. And then they were like, oh, this is jiu-jitsu, and I was like, okay, this is intriguing. So I guess I got bit by the bug right away, sort of. Really didn't know what I was getting bit by. And then, a week later, I go from Maryland to Philadelphia on just a day trip. And we go to another garage and train. There's a guy up there. It's Steve Maxwell, who now is he's a big kettlebell guy. He got his black belt under Helson. Well, at the time, Helson Gracie was there too. I didn't know who Helson Gracie was, just some Brazilian guy. And that's where it started, man. And next thing I know, I'm learning jiu-jitsu from Helson, and then I'm going back. I'm living in Maryland, training, and now at this point we're into a old abandoned, I believe it was a processing plant at one time. They just kind of tore it down and then made it a jiu-jitsu place. And he put mats in there. These guys put mats in there. Nobody in this place is higher than a blue belt at the time. 1999, an American blue belt was basically the equivalent of a black belt. Nobody knew what they were doing. We were watching Gracie tapes, and I just continued to do what I had to do. And that's what I did for a long time until I joined the military. And once I joined the military, that's when I really got opened up to jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of that. I got that little fairy tale story. You know, I kind of walked into a garage, and then after I got beat up, and jiu-jitsu found me.
That's pretty awesome. Did you train in the military as well?
Yeah, I have actually. I still do technically. So I'm a military. The military is called as a master combatives instructor. So their hand-to-hand style is called combatives. And I've been through master combatives trainer course. So that makes me a master instructor. I still do. I instruct the military police officers. I do a lot of hand-to-hand training with those guys pretty regularly. Help train some of the fight teams that are spread out through over the Army. I've had my hand in a little bit of hand-to-hand with the Army. Now, I do have friends who have gotten a lot more into that, and then, I have buddies who have, and they call them, some of these guys, man, are like the godfathers of combatives for the hand-to-hand program for the Army and stuff like that. I never got that, that high of a level with it, but I definitely had my hand in helping train a lot. So
that's pretty dope, man. That's pretty dope. So you being a black belt and just, I don't know, I never really asked this question to anybody, but it just made me think about it. Like when you look at, you look at yourself now, all the accomplishments and, you getting your black belt, do you ever have those thoughts of like, what if I never walked into that, took that first lesson in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, man, I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. Yeah, I do, man, because, people say like, oh man, jiu-jitsu, man, I love the jiu-jitsu way of life. I love, I love what jiu-jitsu's done and stuff like that, man. And at this point, jiu-jitsu is my life. I'm not even a gym owner or anything like that. I train so much and so much has come to me from jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. I mean, I look back over the last 20 years of my life, 20 plus years of my jiu-jitsu life. And I don't really know where I'd be because everything I've done up to this point has spawned from jiu-jitsu in some way. In some way, shape, or form or fashion, it has came from jiu-jitsu at the root of everything. So I don't know. I'd be a whole different person.
Definitely.
I'd have normal ears. I would have normal ears. That's.
I know, right? But I think about that a lot because it's like, just the direction that our gym is taking these like past year and like going forward, talking to my instructor and what his plans. And it's like, I still think about the first day I walked into this building. And I'm like, I still remember the first day I walked in as a white belt, didn't know nothing, I don't even know what to call it, but yeah, getting hooked on it. The next thing you know, 6 years later, still here, getting my butt kicked. Yeah, as a brown belt.
There you go, change, man. You go to, I think that's what jiu-jitsu was for me. It's like it's in karate, you have your katas, and you got your, you're learning all these things. And I don't know about karate, can't speak on that much, but I feel like that, there's an end at some point. Like you've almost learned everything, or you're just kind of like fine tuning almost everything. In jiu-jitsu, man, even as a black belt, secondary black belt, and I've been all over the world. I mean, the amount of gyms I've trained at is astronomical. We'll get into that in a little bit, but I've trained in gyms from in Italy and Germany and in Belgium. I've been in Korea. I've been all over the world. And, you never, you never know. I mean, you never know. Let's take an example, man. You learn a triangle, right? I remember day one, I learned a triangle, right? I learned this triangle, but yeah, I know the triangle. Man, I have learned 1,000 variations of the triangle, and it all works. There's nothing same as the other one. It's a way. It's not the way. It's just a way that works. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love about jiu-jitsu, man. It's ever growing.
Definitely. It's definitely. And so from your experience, like how crazy has it been seeing like how like jiu-jitsu evolved into what it is now?
Oh, it's nuts, man. Wow. What a, now I can go to a bar and I can be like, yeah, man, I do jiu-jitsu, right? And everybody's like, oh man, I know what jiu-jitsu is, blah, blah, blah. Gordon Ryan, everybody, there's somebody out there, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember I was like, 19 years old. I'm a single dude and, I'm dating girls or whatever, man. I'm doing my thing. And I'd have them over and I'm like, hey, you want to watch jiu-jitsu? And they're like, man, there's a bunch of men rolling around on a mat. What's that? You know, and you have to explain to somebody what you're doing. You're like, oh, you know what the UFC is? Oh, you do UFC? No, I don't do UFC, but there's this thing in UFC that I do, you know, the grappling.
Right.
But now you say jiu-jitsu, man, you wear a shirt that says jiu-jitsu, man, even with cauliflower ear, man. I mean, that's like a walking billboard, man. People are like, hey, man, where do you train at? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Long ago, nobody knew nothing. Oh, what's wrong with your ears, man? You know? Now it's, you know, it's everybody knows jiu-jitsu, man. There's a jiu-jitsu school in every corner, you know? So.
Yeah. And just, just growing up, when I, before I even started doing martial arts, jiu-jitsu wasn't a big thing. It was all karate, and taekwondo was like what you mainly saw like popping up. But now it's like you said, jiu-jitsu is like everywhere now, steady growing, like, just spreading like wildfire.
So it's funny, man. Talk about evolution of jiu-jitsu. My first jiu-jitsu tournament. It's called the Philadelphia Freedom Tournament. I actually still have the medal up here somewhere. I find that bad boy. It's up here. It's my own. I think it's 1999. Oh, there it is. I don't know if you can see this right here. 1999, man. So I did that thing it was a church hall on puzzle mats, right? I got second place because I side mounted the guy and he had no idea what to do. That was it.
Oh wow!
He just quit. He quit. That was one of my first tournaments. That's how crazy it was. I didn't even do anything. I didn't do submission, nothing. I don't even remember how I got. I just know I got the side control and the guy was like, I don't know what to do, and he quit.
Oh wow!
I did the Arnold Classic, or at the time it was the Gracie Nationals. It was like one of the third or fourth Gracie Nationals ever. It was in Ohio. They did it at the Arnold Classic. They put us in the back corner of a taekwondo, like full contact taekwondo tournament on puzzle mats. Like, to get to the spot, we had to walk down the hallway while all the dudes were getting bronzed up for their muscles, right? So these dudes getting painted in the back hallway. You're walking around in a gi. Man, this is like, 2000. There's no gis. You have an Atama gi that's just way too small for you with a belt that hangs all the way to your ankles. And, I'm just a white belt walking down the hallway. And I get there. And, I mean, it's puzzle mats, dude. And you could slam people at the white belt level. Like, you could pick people up in the guard and slam them. It was no rules, man. No associations, no rules. Like, it was a bunch of dudes in a corner standing around like, who's going to win?
just straight Valley Tudo style.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and that's what they were saying, like, Valley Tudo. And I was like, man, the only thing we couldn't slap each other. I mean, outside of that, it was like game on. You're elbowing in the ribs. It was rough,
That's wild. So, I was looking at all the luxurious medals in the back.
Oh yeah.
So do you still compete now, or is this just like from your, I guess you want to say, your journey?
No. So most of what you see in the back is generally from the last year and a half. So I do compete heavily. I compete regularly. I love to compete. The reason I love to compete is because, and you can see I got a couple gold there. I got a lot of silver. I don't hide anything. I got everything I got there, right? Some of them things are I showed up. I was the only dude on the couch that showed up, right? But I got to do absolute, so I had some time there, right? But I love to compete, man. I love to test myself. I love to show people that, like, no matter where you're at, you can still do this. I fight Pans on Friday, man. I guess finish up my Pans camp tonight. It was my last night Pans camp. Big turnout, maybe like 20 people on the mat tonight, just going at it, man, getting our last little bit in. But what really it is for me, man, is, obviously we all want that Pans medal. We all want a world title. But really what it is for me, man, is to watch other people just step out there and try, right? So there's dudes in my gym who are just phenomenally good. And they don't want to get out there. They get anxious. They're nervous. So I hit them, hey, man, come compete with me. I'm going to go right there with you, man, beside you the whole way. And there's 4 or 5 people now. I was a serial competitor at my school, man. I was the one competing. Everybody used me, man. Oh, Joe's out there. Now, this year, we're talking about this year alone, we started in January. I had a super fight in January. I invited one of my dudes to go, like, hey, man, I got you a spot. He went. The next thing I know, we've had 4 or 5 now super fights. We got 5 dudes going to Pan Ams. We got people competing all over IBJJF. We're already racking up on worlds. Our group are going to worlds. So it's, to me, all this behind me is my team. It's what they've done for me. And then it's all to inspire them to move on too, man. Like, let them go. I want them to go out there and step out and get out of their comfort zone. So.
Definitely. Yeah, we have a blue belt at our school. Very technical guy, man. Very, very smart. And we like, dude, you should compete. And he's like, super humble. Like, nah, man, I'm not ready. I'm like, nah, bro, I think you should do it. I really think you should do it. Because, we're not really a competition school. Like, it's not like forced to, compete. If you do, you do. You don't, you don't. Yeah. Me and one of the training partners was talking about competing last year. And I was like, you know what? Sure, I'll do it. What's the worst that can happen, right? And after that, man, I've just been like, all right, I can get used to this. I get used to competing. So did one last year, one earlier this year, and I'll be doing Grappling Industries in April 1st, which I didn't realize was like next week.
Yeah, 100%. No, man, it's fun, and for me, it's like, okay, like, I'm doing good. I'll be doing good in the school. I'll be hitting moves I want to hit. Like, I'm using my techniques. I'm hitting my series. And it's like, okay, am I hitting it because I know what these guys are doing? Because I train with these guys all the time, right?
Yeah.
So then I get out there, and it's like, I step out on these mats, and I'm like, all right, I'm not, if I win, great. But really what I want to do is just show my jiu-jitsu, man. I want to get out there. I want to hit my jiu-jitsu. You know what? Hey, I've lost matches before and been happier than when I won. And everybody's like, why are you? I was like, yeah, but did you see that Della X sweep that I hit? That's what I wanted to hit, and it's like, it works.
Yeah.
And then, I go back and we try to do it again. And then there's times when I go and I just, I make a run for it and I hit gold. It's great, I got my wife to compete. That was the highlight of this year. My wife, super nervous. Same thing. She's like, yeah, I don't know if I'm ready. I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for this. I'm like, you're ready. Let's do this. Right. So I kind of tricked her. I got her to, do her IBJJF registration. And then I went on her app and I signed her up. Right. And she was like, I was like, oh, hey, I signed you up for the tournament. She goes, well, we got to pull me out. I'm like, well, IBJJF don't refund your money. So she's like, well, I guess I got to do it now. So I get her in, right? And so she goes, right? No, goes. It's a crazy story. So we go. She's IBJJF Tampa. This happened last month. She goes in there and arm bars the first opponent in a minute 30. Arm bars it from the guard.
Nice.
Yes. Then she goes to the next opponent. Goes right to the end and ends up losing. But what a fight! Makes it to the podium. She ends up getting silver medal. And I didn't care what she got, but to see how she lit up and to see just how amazing she looked and how amazing she felt about herself. My wife's a type 1 diabetic, and to tell you anything about it, so she has sugar issues, like, exercising drops her sugar, and she just got she just got diagnosed a couple years ago, and out of the blue, man, my wife's 132 pounds, type 1 diabetic, not even in her family. So you're talking about a surprise, man. What a surprise to us, right?
Wow.
Yeah. And she's in the middle of training jiu-jitsu at the time. So it really put put a big stop in her life. But then to watch that, and then years later, watch her go out there and not only win, but win with her jiu-jitsu and podium. I lost my voice. I screamed so loud. White belt tournament, white belt match, first round. I screamed so loud you would have thought it was a world championship in Brazil, man. I'm slapping the thing. I lost my voice. It was fantastic.
Of course.
It was the best, probably the best thing in jiu-jitsu, man. Getting my black belt was amazing, but watching my wife do that, that's the best, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I can agree with that, man, because I talked to my wife about competing. She's like, no, never. And she always doubts herself, like, she doesn't understand this or whatever. But there'll be so many times where we'd be in class and I'll hear her like instructing her training partner.
Yeah. And
it's like, I'm like, you do know what you're doing. You do know what you do know this. And she's like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, you know. And then, she's getting hurt. Like, she got her fourth stripe And I was more hyped for that than anything.
Yeah, me too, man.
So,
I always do the same thing. She's getting her strides in. I'm pumped up for her. Like, I'm excited for her. She signed up already for Jiu Jitsu World League, so she'll be doing
look at there.
World League. Yeah. She's going to do an in-house tournament. And not only is she doing that, we had some other girls from our school now, other females who are now signing up for tournaments. So it's like you're just laying that foundation, man.
Yeah.
To people's lives, man. Just anything you do, it's like if you can overcome this, then life is easy.
Easy. I explained that to her so much. I'm like, man, once you really just let jiu-jitsu just take over and you just incorporate that with everyday life, it gets so good, so bad, so much easier to manage.
Yeah, it is. And it's such a melting pot of people. And it's like you find people and you become friends with people that you jiu-jitsu. You would ever. Like, you would just never come across these people unless you had this one commonality, right? Like, we all love jiu-jitsu. So it's great. That's my family now, man. And I think I said that to you on the message, man. Talking about my jiu-jitsu family I never knew I had, man. I don't really talk to my real family too much, unfortunately, and that's just a part of life. But yeah, my family here, man. It's my family. I say I have family here in Florida. My family here in Florida is my jiu-jitsu family, and it's not like it's my professor is one of my best friends. My other black belts, some of my best friends. I mean, these guys have. I'm gone a lot with the military, so I mean, these guys have just taken care of my family for me. I'm gone, no questions asked, man. No, zero. Like, man, my wife needed medication one time. I was all the way in Korea. My wife needs medication. I'm trying to figure out how to get her the money, within a decent amount of time. But this is like medicine my wife needs, right, for her diet. Our professor didn't blink an eye, pulled the money right out of his pocket, said, "Go buy it right now." No questions asked. Like, that to me, that's you couldn't get that anywhere. I don't care what you're doing. That right there, man, that's jiu-jitsu, man. That's your jiu-jitsu family. That's what family does,
Man, for real.
Yeah. And barbecues, family dinners, barbecues, man, we do it all, man. Like the Carlson Great Sioux Polk County, it's a family. When you get involved in this group, it's everybody's there for you, man. Everybody takes care of you. It's amazing.
Yeah. And it's crazy and funny to see, like, when we get new people come into the gym and they see our dynamic and they just be like, man, this is crazy. Like, the other gyms I've been to is not like this. Like, I don't see how people can function in gyms where it's like it's hostility, people want to just, beat up everybody, no one's getting along. No, man, like, everybody in my gym I talk to every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day. If it's not through text messages or, group message or, I work with my instructor. So we in the middle of working, stuff that we worked last night. So it's, yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that connection the connection that you build with the people that you train with is fun. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's nuts. We something unique to this team, and most of my because of the military and because I've traveled so much, I haven't been able to grassroot myself from white to black underneath one professor. I was never able to do it, just from living and moving so much. But when I got to this team, when I came on board in this team just about 3 years ago now, right? I came on board with these guys, just a regular black belt. At that point, I got my black belt in 2015, but I never got my degrees. I never did any stuff. I never worried about it, right? Out here, got into this team. Professor Hoffa took care of all that over time, and then. The one thing that was unique about this team, though, was we do a promotion, right? We do our promotion. They do a big promotion once a year, but they promote through the year too, right? But they do a real big promotion once a year. And after that promotion, we always have a team banquet, and it's not like, oh, we're just going to dinner. Like they rent out a banquet. We get dressed up, suits. Like, we go out. Like, we get it catered. It's dancing. Like,
that's nice.
It's unique. I've never done it anywhere, and it's pretty awesome. Carlson Gracie Jr. Obviously comes down to all of our stuff because we're a Carlson Gracie Jr. school. He comes to the banquets. He was there. He's dressed up. He's dancing with us. He's having a good time. So not only are we seeing everybody in their jiu-jitsu gis, we're not seeing everybody on the mat. Like we're all know each other. We're learning each other personally. We know each other's families. People, our kids hang out together. Like it's really cool.
Very, very cool, man. Very, very cool. For sure, man. It's nothing like it, man. And I've been like so tempting to find another martial artist that's not into jiu-jitsu and see, like, if they have these type of dynamics in their school, like, we do with jiu-jitsu. Because I've talked to so many people in this past 2 years, and there's always, not past 2 years, but past, year. And it's always been the same. Like everyone said, like, I love jiu-jitsu, I love the community, I love this, I love that. Never been anything other than that. So yeah. I'm real curious to see, like, if someone who does, taekwondo, karate, whatever, do they still have that bond that people share in jiu-jitsu?
I don't know. I've never really, my son does, he did taekwondo, and he does like an after school program for taekwondo, and I've gone and watched him do it, but we've never had that connection. So I did do taekwondo, he's doing it, and we interact with, we call him Master Rowe. I guess that's his belt ranking in karate. I know he's been doing it for like 50 years. So,
oh wow.
Yeah, he's been doing taekwondo for a real long time. But I don't know him outside of that work environment or that school environment. Like I just know him as I come in, and he talks to me every now and then because he knows I was in Korea for a year, or I've been to Korea twice, but I lived there for a year. And so he talks to me a little bit about that, but outside of that, man, we don't, it's not the same at all, to me, from what I can see. So
right, yeah. I'm curious. I think I'm at the find someone to talk to and see, because I'm so curious about that. But you said something earlier about not being able to like find a school to settle at, because you've been bouncing around a lot. So yeah. So how difficult was that when it came to you personally and like training?
So training wise, it was pretty phenomenal because I got to learn so much from so many different people all over the world, things like that. I never really worried about getting promoted. It wasn't really a thing. At first it was, and then I was like, oh, I want to get promoted, right? And then like, man, I was a blue belt for, oh man. Dude, I was probably a blue belt for a good like 5 years, and then I was a blue belt, or then I made purple, and I was a purple belt. Oh man, I was a purple belt for another like 6-7 years. A majority of my time has been blue and purple. I was very short and brown. I was decently short in the white belt, but it was like blue and purple forever. And
oh man.
And I think a lot of that, and a lot of that time was me initially entering the military. I entered the military 2005, and I deployed. I did that kind of stuff. Was in and out of Iraq, and even when I was in Iraq, we were still training. Even guys that were doing that knew what jiu-jitsu was, or they were wrestlers or anything. We would just find spots just to learn. Like we may not have an official class, but like it'd be a bunch of dudes just sitting around me for like 10 minutes wrestling, right? Not really learning anything, just beating each other up. And then I came back from that, and I jumped back. I lived in Texas at the time, so I was in Texas. I was training in Texas. I trained at a place called Grappler's Lair under a guy named Jarrett Klotz for a while. And Jarrett was awesome. Jarrett at the time was like a purple belt, but I think he had like a black belt in Japanese jiu-jitsu or something like that. But Jarrett was phenomenal, man. What an awesome jiu-jitsu guy. I learned a lot from him. But then there was guys at the school I was learning from also. Some of them dudes ended up in the UFC. They were doing their thing. I didn't know at the time, dude. I was just trying to learn jiu-jitsu.
Right.
I moved, and then at the same time, the Army though was becoming, the combatives program it was already kind of like a big thing, but it became really big right around 2008. Like that, it was huge. Colton Smith was at Fort Hood. I don't want to say 2008 he was at Hood, but somewhere between 8 and 12 or something like that, he ended up being at Hood. They had a matted room that they basically had a matted room that was maybe the size of like a 4-car garage. And they they took that mat room though, and then they turned it into it took an entire basketball court, and then they put an octagon in there. And this is what the military was running this program for combatives. But then these guys who were jiu-jitsu guys who had nothing to do with the military, they were jiu-jitsu guys, so they would come in and essentially train jiu-jitsu and combatives. So they would be teaching combatives all day, Army-style combatives, so it's more of a lethal approach, and then they would do jiu-jitsu. So that bug kind of double fed while you were at Fort Hood. Fort Hood was like a huge place for me to train, and then Fort Hood blew up because Colton Smith won the Ultimate Fighter. He was an Army guy, it just exploded, right? It's what we needed.
Mm-hmm.
But I moved during that time because in the Army, you move every 2 to 3 years. So I moved at that time. Ended up in Maryland. Trained in Maryland for a while under a couple different schools, and then they opened up a place on Post. So I trained on the military installation. I trained with a bunch of guys there for a long time. Nobody cared about promotion, dude. It was just a bunch of guys trying to learn jiu-jitsu. Entered a ton of Naga tournaments, did Naga, things like that. And then I left and went to Germany. When I lived in Germany, I traveled a lot and did a lot of jiu-jitsu. Didn't understand a word they were saying, but I understood jiu-jitsu. So spoke
the language of jiu-jitsu.
And man, let me tell you, man, you go to another country, if you can speak jiu-jitsu, man, they'll take care of you. So, outside I did 3.5 years in Germany, man. I fortunate enough, I got to go back to Maryland. I was back in Maryland, knew some of the dudes still, kind of went back into the world of jiu-jitsu and did my thing. Right around that time, I got my black belt, moved again, right? I mean, boom, got my black belt, moved again. I was like, man, I think I got lucky, dude. I think I felt bad for me or something, So moved again, and as soon as I moved, I ended up in Korea. I go one spot. I'm in Georgia at this point training, and then I get moved to Korea. I'm in Korea. I was one of 3 black belts anywhere, so we all just kind of got together. We ended up training in our own place, and we did real cool, man. We had a lot of fun. That kind of blew up, man, and fast forward some time, I ended up there. I went to Colorado, ended up training in Colorado under a couple people. And then I think in Colorado is about when I really started learning about the Carlson Gracie Jr. to be exactly, and Carlson Gracie Sr., but Carlson Gracie Jr. Affiliation, and kind of training under some of the guys from there, some of his black belts. Really enjoyed the vibe, really enjoyed those guys, enjoyed their jiu-jitsu. I thought it was just a really good fit. I ended up down here in Florida visiting family, and I went to the first Carlson Gracie school I could find, man. And that's the whole story of how I wrote where I ended up where I was, man. I walked in that door one day. I never checked out another school, man, and I've been there the whole time. So
that's a lot, man.
Yeah, dude. I've been around, man. I have met people. I have seen people, man. I'm sure you scroll through my Instagram. You could see, dude, I have been there. I've met people, forgot who they were, and then be like, man, you're really famous.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
I can't say because I've never been in a position like that, but because I know how I am when I get attached to something. It's I gotta move. And then I have to start over, and then just keep doing that, man. I'll probably be I'll probably have stopped.
Yeah, I'm ready to. I retired, so I'm putting my retirement packet in, and I'm done. Time's come for me to stop, and I think a lot of it has to do with how, I own a house here in Florida. My family's here. My wife's got a career here. Our jiu-jitsu family's amazing here. Everything kind of laid in the way that, not that I thought or planned or anything like that, just the way I guess it was meant to be. It felt right. It feels good. This is the place for me. This is the team for me. This is the family for me. My wife loves it. My kid loves it. I love it. It's just a good place to be. And like I said, I've been all around the world, man. And the one thing that has always helped me has been jiu-jitsu. And that's what we talked about earlier. Where would I be without jiu-jitsu? I really don't know. I don't know how to connect with people. I really don't. 1 minute I'm living in Maryland, the next minute I'm in Germany. I don't speak German. I don't speak Deutsch. But I speak jiu-jitsu. So
right.
literally the first thing I do anywhere I move, this is what I've done for years. Up until now, I don't have to worry about it anymore. Thank God. But the first thing I do, like within night one, I'm at a Jiu Jitsu school. And, I know I get a Jiu Jitsu school, I train, they had that old saying like, oh man, the masks don't lie. Here comes a black belt. And, I got the big target on my back, but we go in there, we have our time, we have fun. And, I've never had a bad experience, man. And it's just been instant friends, instant family. Like, oh man, you're new here. Let me tell you where to go. Or let me show you where this is at. Or give me a call tomorrow, man. I'll show you the best place to stay. I'll show you the best restaurants. Like, oh, you got your kids going here. Oh no, you don't want to go there. Take your kid to this school, like it just helps you out, man.
Yeah, man. Ain't nothing like that jiu-jitsu camaraderie, man. Nothing about it. So, so do your kid competes too, or do they just train right now? So
he's done a couple in-houses. We do in-house tournaments. Like I think we're up to doing them quarterly now. One of our guys, Andrew, one of our black belts, he's real big behind the in-house tournaments. They're real fun and they're real good. So he's been setting those up. I think he's doing them like quarterly now. But so my son's done one of them. I believe he's done one or maybe two. No, he did tap cancer out. So hey, look, there we go. He actually did tap.
Oh, cancer. Okay.
He did tap cancer out. He medaled in tap cancer out, and he did the in-house. So he's done two. Yeah, he loves it, man. He's about to do this next in-house coming up too. He's a little competitive dude, man. He's 8 years old, man, and he plays baseball. He thinks he's the best baseball player in the world. He's got that little 8-year-old I'm everything guy. So
that's nice. That's dope. The whole family competing. I'm gonna get there one day.
It is, man. It's my highlights, dude. I think it's on I did post on my Instagram a picture of me, my wife, and not only did we compete together, we all medaled together, which was super cool. So that was pretty awesome, man. I've been very lucky with this, man. Like, I asked for one little thing, like, oh man, I would love to just compete with my kid. I want to just compete with my son. That'd be great. Oh no, my wife's gonna compete with me. Sweet. Not only we do that, now we all medaled. Like, man, what more could you ask for? Like that's awesome.
I was just about to say, like, what more could you ask for? That's awesome, man. That's pretty awesome. So So what do you do to prepare yourself for a tournament? I mean, probably not much because you do it like every week. So, but like, how do you get yourself in that mindset to ready to go out there and compete?
It's trials and tribulations, man. I try to be all cool about it. Like, oh man, I got pants 8 weeks out, man. We're doing a fight camp. Man, I ain't doing no fight camp, man. I ain't no professional fighter. I ain't doing no fight camp, right? Look, if I'm preparing 8 weeks out at my age, man, I ain't doing good. All right, that's not a good thing. I just try to be. Mentally. I think mental is the biggest thing. But at this point, I've competed so much. It's every day for me. It's whatever for me to walk out on the mats. Mental's. We'll get to mental in a sec, but I think physically, man, I'm 39 years old. Okay, I turned 40 in July.
Okay.
So, I compete. So here's a crazy story. I compete in Masters too. When I was in Korea, I competed nothing but adult black belt. That's all I did. Right. Crazy time. Right. So I'm over there. I'm doing adult black belt only. I do gi. I do no gi. These kids are just. And in Korea, man, when I'm talking about technical, they are technical.
I bet.
Really technical. So, getting prepared for a fight was like, man, how do I just avoid everything? So I think what I do to get prepared for a fight is one, sleep and rest, man, is like number one thing, man. Like no matter what, especially coming up close to a tournament, I really look at my resting cycle, my sleep cycle. Like, am I getting good rest and am I getting good sleep? Because that amount of energy you're going to burn in one match in a tournament, one match. I don't care if you got 5, you got 1. One match is exhausting.
Yes.
So I guess sleeping and sleeping's good. And then I tell people, man, a diet, and it's not about cutting weight diet. Just look at what your intake rate's going to be your output, right? So, I was like my kid, like, man, I'm not going to eat vegetables, dude. Who cares about vegetables? 26 years old. I ain't eating vegetables. I eat Burger King, and then I'm going to fight. Well, let me tell you, man, between the age of 35 and 39 now, it matters what you eat, all right? I ain't eating a Burger King burger and going to compete because I'm going to lose, all right? Not because of him, because of me. So,
yeah.
So I do try to eat pretty healthy, just to maintain, because I know what I'm doing to my body, right? I know what I'm doing to myself, you know. And then mentally, man, I think mental comes with, to me, to prepare mentally for me, it's all about like, what do I do every day? What is my normal pattern of getting ready? So I do the same thing every single time. You know, I relax, I chill, I watch some fights. I get up, I put my headphones on, I put a sweatshirt on, and I try to get a sweat going before every tournament. And that's just my way of doing it. I get in the music, I get in myself, and I walk up there. I like to laugh, I like to joke, I like to smile. I try not to get too serious. And that keeps my mental good. And that's me. Mm-hmm. Everybody kind of does a little different. So I just think your routine needs to be a routine. And I think you should always train harder than what the fight's going to be. I do believe in that. So always make practice harder than in the tournament. Because if you do that, then the tournament's just a good time.
Yep. Yeah. And that's like the plan that I've been trying to go for, man. Just leave it all on the mats in the gym. You know, every time we train, just roll hard, you know, and just get it all out. So that way when I compete, it's just another day in the office.
No, for sure, man. They I had a professor one time tell me, he said, train in the storm to fight in the rain. And that has stuck with me through everything. So train in the storm and fight in the rain. So that is make training harder and tournament be easy.
I like that. Definitely like that. So we have a Talk Your Jits podcast question, and someone that's seasoned like you. I know you've rolled with a lot of good people, a lot of high competitors, but your top 3 people that you would like to roll with.
Oh, that's a good one, man.
Against everybody.
You know, everybody's like, where? I think number one, top people I'd love to roll. I think Roger Gracie would be definitely one on my list. Roger Gracie's jiu-jitsu is simple and it is effective. And I think learning those basics is so important. I know every black belt says that. Learn the basics, you'll be amazing.
Learn the basics.
Just understanding how, like, when you're sitting in the mount and if you move your hips 1 inch to the front, you know, like how much heavier you can be, you know? So learning from Roger Gracie, definitely number one, because I think that's the aspect I'm going to get, you know? Man, I think Roger's definitely on that list. There's probably some other people here now. Oh, definitely the Meow Brothers. I would love to roll with the Meow Brothers, man. I don't know what it is about them dudes, but holy cow, man. Their bolo game and the way they invert is just insane. And I love it. I mean, you know what? I'm a tall dude. I'm 5'11". I walk around right about 175 now. I used to walk around 195, but I am not built to bolo. But man, I love bolo. I love it. So, you know, get with those guys, that'd be awesome. So I think Meow Brothers definitely number 2 on my list, for sure. And then, you know, I think that's, you know, I'm really not into, I think everybody's like, oh, I'd love to roll with Gordon Ryan. Like, I'm just not really, I mean, he's doing fantastic. I love what he's doing for the sport. The dude's amazing at jiu-jitsu. He's amazing at no-gi jiu-jitsu or submission wrestle, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. I'm a gi guy. I have loved the gi. I have never not stopped loving the gi. I would love the gi all day. You tell me to come to no gi class, I'm going to show up in my gi just to hope somebody has a gi, right? I love the gi. So the no gi guys on that podium are definitely not in there. But I think definitely I would love to have a session with John Danaher for sure. Because I think his mental, like how he depicts a grappling fight or a session or how he looks at things is way beyond my capability, and I would love just to see what he would tell me, you know. So that's the thing. So Roger Gracie for sure, the Meow Brothers number 2, and then John Danaher. So I got a guy who's gonna crush your soul with pressure, I got guys who are going to dance around you 50 times before they choke you out or they break your arm. And then I got a guy who's going to outthink you at every point of the match. So I think that would be effective.
In the most calmest of ways.
Yes, the most calmest of ways. And he'll never take the rash guard off, you know?
Never. Hey, but you know what? He's on to something, man. Like, just a rash guard is so comfortable.
It's all ready, man. I mean, he's ready. You know, it's the old. There was a joke one time. I remember this guy told me, he goes, you know, how you get out of a fight. Like, what? How? He's like, you carry a mouthpiece in your pocket. I'm like, what? He goes, right before somebody fights you, put your mouthpiece in. He's like, nobody's gonna fight a dude who's that ready to fight. And I was like, maybe that's what John Danaher is doing. You know, maybe nobody's gonna fight a dude wearing a rash guard, man. He's ready.
No. It's like Superman wearing his costume under his suit. It's like anytime I can just rip this off and destroy everybody in the room.
Everybody. Yeah, no, I was listening to Joe Rogan, and he had Gordon on, and Gordon was talking about how, like, the dude, like, he didn't even have a TV or nothing. He just studied Jiu Jitsu, and I'm like, man. I want to learn from this guy. Like, I want to just sit down with this guy. Just give me an hour. I just want to sit down an hour with this guy and really see how insane this is. I bet it's life changing. I really bet it's life changing when it comes to jiu-jitsu.
Like, when you have to explain to someone this day and age what the internet and Netflix is.
Yes.
I listened to that episode. I was like, what?
Yeah, like
there's no way.
I think I'm obsessed with jiu-jitsu, and jiu-jitsu is what I do all. No, that guy is way beyond my level. Like, yes, and he's got a, what is he, like, he was a professor at a university, like, just really high level educated, like, insane.
Yeah, that's so insane. But this show, you never know.
Yeah, for sure.
You never know. But Joe, man, if you got any questions for me, man, fire away. If not, man, shout out your school. If anything you got coming up, man, the floor is all yours.
So yeah, you said you mentioned your school. Where do you train out of, man? I'm sorry, I should have asked that.
Yeah, I train at H2O. Well, he changed the name. It's H2O Brazilian Jiu Jitsu now. I live in Detroit, Michigan, but I train in Oak Park.
Okay, awesome. And so it's like a small place or a big place? Like, where
we're fairly small.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, like, I think we got 12 to 13 people, I think.
Okay, no, that's awesome, man. That's good, man. I don't mind big schools because, man, our school's huge. Like, we have a big student base. We got a lot of people here, there, everywhere. We got 3 schools, but it's really nice when you have a small school too sometimes, because you can really get that, like, deep dive when it comes to every individual in that school. So yeah, you don't need a lot of people have proved that, man. You don't need a big school to be a world champ. You don't need world champs to be a world champ, man. I mean, you got guys out there. I think rumor had it Mikey Musumeci trained with nothing but blue belts. Like, there. Wow. It's crazy, like, to look at. I mean, his sister's also a world champion too. And he trained with his sister, but that guy was training out of his garage. For a good while. I don't know what the time frame was on that, but I mean, that guy was training out of his garage for a while, just his garage, and then competing under his garage name. So, having a small spot is not, that's pretty dope. Very cool, man. You said you're a brown belt?
Yes, I am.
Very cool, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I got my brown belt October.
Oh, nice.
One or two. It's either October, November. I forgot. It's still a big blur.
That's awesome, man. One thing I could say, man, is about, through the belt promotions, as you get through and you go, we all, we're all like, man, that moment, I'm going to get my black belt and it's going to be a life-changing. And it is. It's amazing. Man, let me tell you, they say all the time, the journey's going to begin when you hit black belt. But boy, it definitely changes, man. The journey begins when you hit black belt, because you really get in deep water. So...
Yeah, I've heard the stories, man. I've heard the stories. Like, yeah, you train, white to blue, blue to purple, purple to brown, and then when you get black, that's when you start learning jiu-jitsu. You do, man. I've learned more as a black belt than I think I've learned in all the belts combined, and that's crazy because you didn't know anything at white belt. I didn't know what an armbar was, and
you learn all these moves, and you're learning how to connect these moves and get to these positions, and you're putting it together. And you're like, oh, I'm doing this arm bar here. I'm doing the omoplata here. I'm doing this. I'm connecting. It's like, as a black belt now, I'm sitting here. I know how to do all these moves. I can do all these moves all day. But then it's like, well, if you place your hand here and you move your hip here, anyway, it's like, that's all. I learned those two things, hand and hip, and I'm like, it's the best night of my life. You go back to white belt me, and it's like hand and hip, man.
In an instant.
How do I break this arm?
So how do I, death touch somebody in here?
Exactly. Didn't mock,
Right? I didn't mock in here.
Didn't mock. Yeah, I tell people all the time, man. You come to me, and I get brand new people come in, and they'll come into school, and unfortunately, we're very fortunate to have a lot of black belts, right? So we kind of rotate through our black belts in our school when they teach. We have our core instructors, and my professor teaches a lot. But we also have our black belts rotate teaching, right? So I taught a class today, somebody else will teach a class tomorrow, things like that. But you get new people in, and I tell them all the time, I'm like, what I like about jiu-jitsu? They're like, what? I'm like, there's no dim mock. And they're like, what's that? I'm like, there's no death touch in jiu-jitsu. I was like, there's always going to be something for something. It's a huge chess game, and that when I got to black belt, man, holy cow, did I realize how deep the water was. There was a guy on Instagram, he promoted a guy to black belt, and he was saying, I think he promoted his son, and he was saying, he goes, you're in a small pond, in your brown belt and stuff. And he's like, when you get to black belt, he's like, it's the open sea, and there's monsters in the sea. And man, what a good statement, dude, because
man,
at my level, man, at Masters, Masters 2, I'm a Masters 2 competitor currently. I step on that mat, dude, and there's a guy who's got more stripes on his black belt than he does in a red tab. It's just like 6 degrees black. I'm like, you got your black belt when I started, brother. Like, come on, man.
Like, man, what are you doing, man? Get out of here.
I'm just like, oh, okay, and I'm competing against this guy, So, let me tell you, I've watched that happen a couple times. So you can't mentally prepare for that, man. You just got to go. But yeah, man, that's cool, man. Do you get to travel though? I know you're doing this podcast. Do you ever get out and get traveling to check out some jiu-jitsu or?
That's funny. That's actually my plan now because, everybody that I've talked to that's like in the surrounding area, maybe like a 2-hour drive. I'm like, and they're like, no, man, yeah, if you ever want to come down, come visit. I'm like, okay, take you up on an offer. So yeah, that's my plan. I would, love to start traveling, visiting different schools, just getting a little bit more of a variety of jiu-jitsu, man.
Traveling
is different everywhere.
No, it is definitely different, man. Definitely, you learn a little bit everywhere you go. I don't look at it as like, oh, I'm stealing technique or I'm stealing whatever. Like, I go to other schools and I travel a lot for work, like I mentioned earlier, man. So, most of the week I'm out of town, so I have to travel. I have to train other schools, and I get welcomed with open arms, and it's great because I still learn. I'm still learning because this journey never stops. But as you travel, man, you learn small things that you might never know. And it's not because anybody was wrong. It's just we don't have a curriculum in jiu-jitsu. No. Our curriculum is armbar, triangle, arm on plata, cross collar choke, mount, back mount, that if any, we have a curriculum, it's these small little things that everybody generally knows. But we don't have a curriculum, it's not like, well, we're learning how to do a cross collar choke this way and only this way, everybody enters a cross collar choke differently. Everybody enters a triangle differently. So traveling will open you up to that. And it actually will improve your jiu-jitsu, man. And that's what I think. I think my jiu-jitsu has improved dramatically because I've traveled.
Yeah, man. I'm definitely excited to start somewhere with traveling, even if it's just if I just circle Michigan, but anything is better than nothing, man.
Oh no, 100%, man. You start out small, man. Look for those schools you can hit those little short shots on, And then if you ever get out to like the big events, man, if you ever go out to Worlds, you go out to Pans, no-gi Pans, things like that, man. Those are in Dallas, here in Kissimmee, or down here in Florida. Pans is 40 minutes from my house, man. So I'm lucky. But
nice.
And it just people come down for Pans all the time, and they're out checking out schools and things like that. So for sure, man, definitely travel, man. I think it'd be cool. Definitely come across people And some of the people we probably talk to are just got the craziest stories, because there is dudes I've met in jiu-jitsu who have stories that are just blow all of us out of the water. You just never know they're there, man. They're just quiet guys in the corner, dude, you know? So.
Yeah, I'd have heard some wild stories, man. I'd have heard some wild stories doing this podcast.
I bet. You know, I've heard just amazing, you know, stories of recovery from just having substance abuse to, you know, they were just, you know, people that were homeless, man, they needed somewhere to stay, and they just ended up staying there, man, and just it became their life, you know. And it's pretty cool, man. I've seen, you know, guys who were 300 pounds who then became, you know, they're 170 pounds now, and the healthiest people you could see. It's just awesome, man. You know, just traveling is so cool, man. That's one thing I've really enjoyed. I kind of wish I was grassrooted. And one half of me says, man, I wish I had the same professor from beginning to end. Because I kind of envy that with some people, where I'm like, man, you've known this dude for 18 years. He's giving you your black belt. He's giving you your first degree. Like you guys know each other's lives and everything. And I kind of wish I had that. And then there's the other half of me that's like, when I tell people, you know, I've traveled, I've been here, I've been that, and they're like, oh, that's so cool. So, you know, I guess it's a 50-50.
Yeah, I can see it on both sides. I was thinking, you know, I looked at it as personal, like, you know, a person who's been at one school for his whole entire career versus someone who's traveled the world and trained at different schools. So I'm thinking like, man, would I be able to do that? I wouldn't be able to do that, but some people can.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, man, you know, I think it's cool, man. You and your family train for sure, dude. I appreciate you having me on, man. You know, jiu-jitsu, spread the word, man. I think it's amazing. I love seeing people start, you know, come in there. You just need some confidence in your life, or some people just sit on the mat and talk to, man. You know what? We're not board certified psychologists in any way, but man, I got some of the best advice ever on the mats. Let me tell you.
I'm telling, man, that's the best therapy, man. The best therapy is jiu-jitsu.
You know, but I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to my professor, Rafa Santos. I want to say thank you to all the black belts here, the Carlson Gracie Polk County, which is Winter Haven, Florida. You got South Lakeland, Florida. You got Lakeland, Florida. And then you have Plant City, Florida. We have a school out there too, man. And, you know, we're ever growing. So thank you to my team. If you're ever in the area, man, please give me a holler. Come on by. You're more than welcome to train, take you around, you know, and anybody else, man, if you're in Polk County, you know, or you're in Lakeland, Florida, anywhere you come to Disney, bypass all the city, come on over here to us, man. We'll show you guys a good time.
Definitely, man. Like I said, once get the ball rolling, I'm gonna take you up on that offer for sure, man.
And you should, dude, for real. I'd love to have you down here, man. I'd enjoy it. So.
Yes, man. I'm planning on it. I'm planning on it.
For sure.
But yeah, that's the end of today's episode. I would like to thank Joe once again for coming on and sharing his tales of jiu-jitsu with us. I hope you guys you know, took some from our experiences. Please go and follow our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube page to stay up to date on all future episodes. This has been Talk Your Jits podcast. Keep rolling, keep grinding, and remember, long live jiu-jitsu. Have a great day.
Thanks, brother.